On today's show, we're going to talk about being a white belt, what we experienced as white belts, and then I also want to ask the question to each one of these guys, what would you tell your past white belt self? Let's get started. All right, man, so glad we're here today. Like I said, we're going to talk about what is it like being a white belt, and some of the things that we experienced as white belts. And what would you tell your past self? You know, if you could go back and be like, hey, you need to focus on this, or don't do that, it was dumb, or, you know, maybe take a shower before you come. I don't know, whatever it is that you would tell your old white belt self. And I'm actually going to have Carlos start because I was told he doesn't talk that much, so.
All right, well, here I am. I think I would tell myself to just slow down and enjoy the Jiu Jitsu a little more. I feel like when I was first coming in, I was so like bent on winning and losing that I wasn't even enjoying the Jiu Jitsu, you know what I mean? And then I would go home and be like, oh, this is why I lost and this is why I won. Instead of actually seeing like where my body's at and how to move around people. I was just so, for instance, like I would get so focused on trying to get a triangle that I wasn't even worried about the setup. I was just worried about like, anytime I see a triangle, I'm just gonna jump on it. And then I didn't learn how to do the setup until I was like a blue belt. And I was like, oh, that's how I get to the triangle. Like,
did you ever get in the car and go, what just happened? Did
you ever, oh yeah, all the time.
Try to process those moments you couldn't even figure out where you went wrong or...
Yeah.
It's interesting how we don't even see, like I don't even remember noticing the spazzy moments of my jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. I felt like I was boss in those moments, and I didn't realize how bad it was.
Yeah,
you know? And
I agree.
Did anybody ever like stop you? So, you know, you're just going straight for that triangle. Did anybody say, okay, stop, man, reverse and put your foot in the hip, do this right? Or did you discover it on your own?
Multiple times. Like I think probably all the black belts here told me to just slow down and look at it, because I would be in guard and I just immediately try to get to the triangle.
And you'd be like, I am going slow.
Yeah, and I'm like, I am going slow. I'm just catching you know, in my head, but I wasn't even doing anything.
Don't be mad, bro.
Get to the diamond, yeah, and I'd be like, I am doing it. I'm going slow. I'm getting you. They'd be like, you're not getting anything.
That's so weird. Just the mindset. You're like, I have it in. What do you mean I am going slow? It's there, and they're saying, dude, you're not doing it right. It's not there. Mm-hmm. And I've had moments like that at open mat where I'll be rolling with a white belt and they'll try to mount me with that big old step, and I'll catch them. I'm like, dude, back up right now. Yeah. Do it. And when they do it right, it feels correct. But whenever they're jumping that, I know you guys can feel it too when someone's about to jump them out. You can feel their whole body motion, their leg get light. Everything feels different. But whenever they mount correctly or they do the technique correctly, you know it's different than whenever you rush it. Mm-hmm. You know, so I think that's so good, because I honestly thought I was going slow when I first started, and I thought I was doing it correctly, or you know, and I too struggled with just wanting to get the submission really quick.
And I would feel really good about like getting to the position, but then I wasn't learning how to actually get there, if that makes any sense. You know, like I was just rushing into a clamp, essentially. Yeah. I don't know how to explain that, but you know.
You're missing the steps.
Yeah, there you go. That's
you're rushing steps.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we all are guilty of that.
Yeah, and I feel like if I was a white belt.
Still. What did I tell myself yesterday? Hey, slow down.
I feel like if you actually, as a white belt, sat there and focused on the steps, so you'd be like 10 steps ahead of everyone you start with within 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. If you just broke down how you get to a position of money. I don't know, game changer for me. I feel like looking back now.
Yeah, I feel like when I was a white belt, I was really focused on like that final
finish,
that final position, and I kind of would just be almost like in a daze as they're demonstrating the technique, and then you're like, okay, and it's an arm bar. And it's like then you get to drilling it, and you're like, I don't remember any of the steps to actually get here.
But I'm ready for rounds.
I think slowing down is the first thing I thought of when I think about being a white belt too. A lot of people told me that for a long time, and every single time I took their advice and slowed down. And I think I probably still need to hear that sometimes. But now it's like looking back, it's not that long ago, but looking back to white belt days, I can definitely see how much slower my game is than it was then.
And I agree with you. Your game, I'm even a year ago, I noticed at times you were still doing that, and I think I've even mentioned to you more than once that you actually flow now, and it feels really good. And I've noticed that growth in you. You know.
Yeah. I think you realize, or you don't realize when you're first starting, what slow actually means. It doesn't mean there's not bursts of energy. It doesn't mean that there's not intense effort. It means that you know when to take a pause and think and evaluate. You know not to force things and rush things. And it's just like, if you go slow, especially if you're going with an upper belt of any kind, they're gonna give you moments to think and try things, and then they'll respond and adjust, and they're gonna win. It's like, you can either let them win slowly and you can learn along the way, or you can let them win quickly by forcing them into like self-defense mode if you're just spazzing on them, and then they're going to control you and the round will be over before you really get to learn anything.
Little secret about that, actually, as you get, higher up in rank, you learn how to get a really good poker face, and then you do use the excuse that you were letting them work. Not that you weren't letting them work. Sometimes you are. Sometimes you're like, all right, I'm just kind of, but there's times they go, oh, I know you let me work, and you go, yeah, I did.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. It's not one to admit that, dude, you just tore me up just then.
Don't build that ego up too much. I don't like that.
No.
I guess maybe instead of saying slow down, it'd be better to tell them to be deliberate.
Like think, yeah.
Think through.
Kind of going off that, when I first started, I really understood nothing about what jiu-jitsu even was. And it took me like 6 months before I even was like, I should probably go watch like some jiu-jitsu matches on YouTube and see what people are doing. And as soon as I started doing that, it all just started making more sense of where I was trying to get to versus just coming in here and like thrashing with somebody.
Yeah, that's the long road. If you're just coming in here 2-3 hours a week as a hobbyist, right? I mean, that's a long road of learning. And whether it's anything in life, and I tell my kids this all the time, that the people that are going to be successful at it are the ones that are going to put in effort outside of class or outside of the gym or whatever it may be. If you talk to those guys, whether it was Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, or whoever else, those guys will say, yeah, I was in there before class, I was in there after class, I was studying tape and all these other kinds of things, mental repetitions. So, I didn't think about that too much until 4, 5, 6 months into my white belt journey. That was, spazzy, egotistical, I'm okay, I'm just gonna muscle everybody around. It's fine, I'll be fine. It is what it is. And you get humbled really, really quickly. And if I were to go back, I'd say exactly what Carlos just said. Be deliberate with every chance you have and every opportunity you have. Have not necessarily a game plan, but because at a white belt you don't really have a game plan, but come in here with like the intention to learn something, not just to get a workout. Workouts are outside of the gym. Training is to drill, work on things you don't know and try to learn something new. And don't be afraid to learn something from somebody who you wouldn't suspect. We were just mentioning earlier, there's some white belts in here and some early blue belts who, they're a handful.
Yeah.
And so we have to learn from that, not be so egotistical that we're going to shut their game down, and so, yeah, it's like, I've heard a reference, those first months are like drinking through a fire hydrant. Mm-hmm. It's just all coming at you, and it's hard to take in anything. And so I think the one thing that really helped me tremendously was trying to establish, okay, I read this in a book somewhere that at white belt, this is what your focus should be. Submissions and all that stuff are going to kind of present themselves, and if they're there, fantastic. But for me, my white belt phase was I need to just learn how to survive. And if you can survive, then working through your blue belt, you can kind of work on your escapes and all that kind of stuff. So you know how to buy time to find openings for escapes, and then you focus on other things as you go. And so, yeah, I think what Carlos said was 100%. Be deliberate or slow down. They're all kind of they run parallel with one another. So that's what I would have told myself back on the white belt days.
And I wished I would have focused on, instead of focusing on the submission and getting the finish and how good that felt, or I wish I would have learned passing or control or pressure and tried to understand those things. I was so rushed to get a submission every time, and I thought it was just so cool. And not saying that it's not, I just I missed out. And I'm looking at the white belts now and the blue belts now, and I started wanting to really learn passing in purple belt, and I missed an opportunity. And I remember as a white belt, I was talking to a brown belt. His name was Sean, and I said, "What is your favorite thing? What do you like to do most?" He goes, "I like to control people." And I was like, "What? You don't like to submit people?" He goes, "No, I like to control people." And I didn't realize how important it was to control. Now, I like to control. I like to move around. I like to manipulate the situation. I would rather do that than just sub the whole time. I get more enjoyment out of watching technique work and flow. So, yeah. Anybody else have anything else about what you would say to your old self, or just anything in regards to just being a white belt right now, or there's quite a lot of things.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. I think
Yeah.
one thing with Professor Larry, I'm going to reference him quite a bit because I saw him for years teaching my son before I even joined the gym. And he would always tell me outside of class, he's like, jiu-jitsu's not going anywhere. And if you train properly and with some safe, appropriate people, you can do it for a while at a very high, intense pace. And so that's always stuck with me. That kind of helped me to slow down. Didn't feel like, I don't know what it's like, right? When you take a week off or for whatever reason, you feel like, oh man, the bus is still going. I'm going to come back and these white belts are going to be black belts before I know it. And they're going to catch me, and that's all ego stuff. But it's everybody's on their own journey. Just to reiterate the deliberacy and slowing down. So,
And then realizing where you are.
yeah.
And you're in the place you're in because that's where you are. And a confession I have is, and I think I don't know if I've told you guys or not. I think maybe I have, but when I was a white belt, I think I was 2 or 3 stripes in. I had submitted this blue belt who was 3 or 4 stripes, and then I even got a purple belt. And I remember daydreaming. I was going, "Oh, you know what? Mark's gonna skip my blue belt, and I'm gonna go straight to purple belt." And that's how highly I thought of myself. Now, listen, when I got my blue belt, I realized how much I didn't know. I was like, I don't even know what jiu-jitsu is. It was truly imposter syndrome for the day one of getting that belt, thinking I was something and I was really nothing. So again, as white belt, know where you are, know your stage, know that you have a lot to learn, okay? And after you get your first couple stripes, I think it's great if you want to share some of the things that you're learning stuff, but still be willing to learn. Don't get into that rut of thinking that you know jiu-jitsu now. And even as you get close to that blue belt stage, and we're going to talk about what it means to be a blue belt also, you need to be willing to learn. And I know Eli was talking about being willing to learn even from lower belt. I love to learn from people that are way below me because it blows me away the stuff that they have and the little details that they have in regards to technique. So as a white belt, slow down. Think through what you're doing. Actually try to absorb the technique. Even go write it down. Take a video. Study it. Do like Alex said. Go watch some jiu-jitsu matches and go, oh, okay, let me think about my movements. Because you may end up, if you go spazzy, you're going to end up hurting yourself or the person you're rolling with, and guess what? Then people don't want to roll with you. All right? So take time. Know where you are, and it's okay. And I love what Eli said. And I dealt with this as a white belt so much. I would miss a couple classes, and I felt like everybody was just so much better in that moment. And jiu-jitsu has went nowhere. Everyone is on their own journey. So, all right. Well, thanks for joining us today, and until next time.